The 19th of July 2026, 16th Sunday in Ordinary Time, MT 13:2443. Homily of MONS. EMIDIO CIPOLLONE, Archbishop of Lanciano-Ortona. Dear brothers and sisters, we have come to the 16th Sunday in Ordinary Time, in the middle of summer, in truly oppressive heat, and in the Gospel the word of Jesus continues to speak to us in parables, through these small stories with which Jesus wants us to grasp his message. After all, the Gospel ends precisely this way: let anyone who has ears listen. And we, even though troubled by this heat, want to open our ears to listen to the word of the Lord, to understand what it wants to tell us through the parables. Today we have heard no fewer than 3 parables, after hearing the parable of the sower last Sunday, and before hearing 3 more next Sunday. These are the 7 parables that make up Jesus' discourse in parables. We truly want to make an effort so that, in our hearts and minds, this message of Jesus may be well understood and put into practice. The most important of the 3 parables, judging also by the space the evangelist Matthew devotes to it, is certainly the first, that of the weeds and the good wheat, to which Jesus then joins 2 very brief parables, that of the smallest of all seeds, the mustard seed, which becomes the largest of garden plants, and that of the yeast, capable of leavening 3 measures of flour, that is, more than 40 kilos of flour. The parable of the weeds and the wheat opens with the figure of the sower who goes out and sows good wheat in his field. He sows a beautiful seed, just as God, at the beginning of creation, had made all things good, indeed very good, all things beautiful, very beautiful, just as Jesus, with his message, with his gospel, wanted to create a good world, a beautiful world. This sower, then, sows in his field only and exclusively beauty and goodness, only goodness and beauty should therefore spring up. But the parable presents us with another character, an enemy of the landowner, who at night, while everyone is sleeping, goes into the field and scatters, among the good seed, the beautiful seed, the seed of the weeds as well. Indeed, the Greek text speaks of weeds in the plural, because the forms of evil present within us and around us, in the world in which we live, in the church in which we live, are manifold, just as the forms of goodness and beauty we can experience are manifold. Why does Jesus use precisely the example of the weeds? Because, in its first sprouting, it is entirely similar to the plant of good wheat, to the plant that produces the beautiful seed, and so, at the beginning, the wheat and the weeds can easily be confused. It is only as they grow, only as harvest time approaches, that the clear difference between the beautiful seed and the weeds comes out. Even in terms of color, the ear of good wheat is golden blonde, while the ear of the weeds is black, ugly to look at, and dangerous, because it is somewhat poisonous and somewhat hallucinogenic. We must therefore be wary of this enemy, but let us try not to place it outside ourselves, as though we had to ask, who knows who this enemy might be, who knows whom he is after? We must instead recognize that this enemy is, first of all, within us. It is within us that good and evil, the beautiful seed and the weeds, live side by side. St. Paul, and many other figures, both within the Bible and throughout history, have reminded us of this. St. Paul, in the letter to the Romans, said, "I see the good, I approve of it, I recognize it, but at times I do the evil that I do not want to do." I understand what the good wheat is, St. Paul is telling us, but at times I choose the weeds. This is exactly what we must avoid, this is what we must pay attention to. Dear brothers and sisters, we must avoid falling asleep, we must avoid lowering our guard, we must avoid switching off the alarms that warn us against this enemy who wants to change our points of reference, who wants to make us choose the weeds instead of the good wheat, death instead of life. The problem of evil, the presence of evil within the life of each one of us, in the world and in the church, has always challenged men and women of every age and every place, but we cannot address it now with a philosophical lecture. We only need to realize that evil is present in the world and in the church itself, but that we can defend ourselves against it. The servants, those who work with the landowner, who serve him and labor in the field, which is the world, when they notice the presence of the weeds, go to the landowner with 2 questions, which are also our questions, and say to him, "Excuse us, Master, but did you not sow good seed, beautiful seed, in your field? Where, then, do the weeds come from?" Could the problem not be in the seed? Could it not be that, instead of sowing only what is good, you also sowed a little evil? And the landowner answers, "Do not worry, I sowed well, I sowed beauty, I did not sow any form of evil, nothing that is wrong. My word, which is the beautiful seed, my spirit, which is a spirit of love and life, is entirely good, entirely positive. The seed is only good, there is only beauty." So who sowed the weeds? An enemy has done this. Learn to recognize him and learn not to give in to him. Certainly, the shoot of the weeds is very similar to that of the wheat, and so it is possible to be confused. Pay attention, then, to the suggestions of this enemy, because he will want to lead you astray precisely by confusing you, precisely by making you believe one thing is another, just as happened to Adam and Eve with the serpent, in the Garden of Eden, at the moment of creation. He will plant suspicions within you. He will raise questions that are false questions, but that can throw you off track, that can make you make wrong choices in place of true love, the love that I have preached to you, that I have taught you, a love capable of giving and giving itself, of putting itself at the service of others even to the point of giving one's own life. Instead, he will teach you a false love, in which you will love only yourselves and will be led to exploit occasions, situations, and people for your own good, and only for your own good. In place of justice, he will lead you to want revenge. In place of true freedom, he will lead you to want to do only what you please, to be slaves to licentiousness rather than men and women of true freedom, the freedom that is always for the sake of life, never of death, and that always respects life from its natural rising to its natural setting. He will lead you to think that death can be a sign of mercy, as today's culture would have us believe. And so it is with many other realities. The weeds, at first, can be confused with the good wheat. The suggestions of this enemy, who, I repeat, is above all within us, can lead us off the path. Let us stay on the right path. Let us keep listening to the word of the gospel. Let us keep our antennae up through prayer and familiarity with the word of the Lord, through participation in the community and mutual encouragement. Then these servants say, "But we, who work with you, dear Master, cannot bear to see the weeds among the wheat." Now we have realized it, now we understand which plants must be uprooted. Let us go at once and do this sorting, and remove these unbearable weeds. And the landowner answers, "This will be done, but not now." In the background, as this gospel is read, you will see already harvested fields, where the good wheat has been gathered into the barns, while around us, as we record this good news, you can still see some weeds, what we have called today the darnel. In the end there will be this separation, and this separation will be carried out by the angels, not by human beings. It will not be for us to judge what is good and what is evil, it will be the Lord who does this for us. So, no impatience, no hurry, evil and good will continue to exist for the whole course of our lives, for the whole history of humanity and of the Church. Only at the end will there be the definitive separation, and then those who have remained faithful, as the Gospel has told us, will shine like the sun. Their life will be even more evidently beautiful, and everyone will be able to behold it, and there, at the end, the weeds too will be gathered to be burned. But the weeds are not people, they are sins, wicked things, wrong thoughts, useless and harmful words, the negative deeds each of us commits. It is these, the sins, that are burned, not people. The Lord does not solve the problem of evil by doing away with his beloved children, he solves the problem of evil by burning evil and saving people. It is very important that we always remember this. Of course, in our lives there can be few or many weeds, perhaps in our own lives there are many, while in the lives of the saints there are few, to the point of having a field with no weeds at all. That is our goal, and that is what we must work toward, but we must not be in a hurry to take steps that are not ours to take. Let us defend ourselves from the enemy, let us keep the weeds at bay, let us help as many people as possible not to rely on the weeds, but let us allow wheat and weeds to grow together, in the end there will be the separation. This parable is not easy to understand. Indeed, it is the only one for which the disciples ask Jesus for an explanation, compared to Mt 13:36, which Jesus gives using the language of that time, a language that belonged to the rabbis, to the teachers among the Jews, and that belonged to that ancient age. A hard language, a strong language, that uses very striking images, but that served only to give courage again, to wake up communities that, perhaps, after some years of enthusiasm, were falling asleep, just as happens to us and to our communities as well. Let us take from this parable, then, the need to wake up, the need to return to familiarity with the Word of God, to familiarity with the celebration of the Eucharist, to familiarity with the witness of charity. Then come the other two very small parables, that of the mustard seed, which is the smallest of all seeds, less than half the size of a grain of wheat, and which nevertheless produces the largest of garden plants. Certainly, the mustard bush does not catch the eye. What catches the eye is the cedar of Lebanon, which is more than 100 meters tall, while the mustard plant, at its very best, reaches 2.5, perhaps 3 meters in height. For this reason the prophet Ezekiel had compared the Hebrew people precisely to the majestic cedar of Lebanon, because the people of Israel were meant to be the best, the greatest, the most beautiful on the whole earth. Jesus, instead, says, "Come down a little, become more humble, get back in touch with the earth. You must be like the mustard seed, you must not aim to stand out, you must not aim to be the greatest, you must aim to bear fruit. You are a garden plant, a plant of everyday life, do what you must do, and the birds of the sky will come to make their nests among your branches as well." Just as all peoples, looking at the cedar, could desire to come and rest among its branches, to be welcomed by the people of Israel, so it will also be for the small mustard seed that has become the largest of the plants. If we know how to be humble, then we will bear the best fruit. And finally there is the parable of the yeast. Yeast is mentioned many times throughout the Bible, and its presence is almost always linked to something negative, because yeast, precisely because it transforms matter, risks corrupting it. At the Feast of Unleavened Bread, in preparation for Passover, the Jews used to remove, and still remove today, anything leavened from their homes, precisely so that Passover could signify a new birth. This page of Matthew's Gospel is the only one in which yeast is spoken of in a positive light. Yeast can transform flour into bread, can work the dough, can transform it for the better. Let us welcome, then, the message of these three parables. We are small, we are of little account, yet we have a treasure in earthen vessels, as St. Paul would say, we truly do have a treasure. Let us cultivate the beautiful seed that the Lord has placed in the field of our heart, trying as much as possible to eliminate every weed. Let us make the small seed of the gospel grow until it becomes the greatest of the garden shrubs. And let us allow the yeast of Christ, the yeast of the Spirit, to transform our life completely, so that we may thus cooperate with the Lord in transforming the Church and the world. Have a good summer.